In a quiet corner of a bustling city, Mark, an ordinary man in his late 30s, stumbled upon an old leather-bound diary while browsing a quaint, forgotten bookstore. The cover was worn, the pages yellowed with time. Mark's curiosity was piqued. He purchased the diary without a second thought. Back at his small apartment, Mark began to read. To his amazement, the entries in the diary were dated years into the future. The first entry detailed an event that hadn't yet occurred, describing a major earthquake that would strike the city in just a few days. Skeptical yet intrigued, Mark decided to prepare himself, just in case. When the earthquake struck, as the diary predicted, Mark found himself unharmed thanks to his preparations. Astonished and somewhat shaken, he returned to the diary, eager to learn more about what the future held. Each entry seemed to unfold like a plot from a science fiction novel, filled with events that would soon come to pass. As Mark continued to read, he discovered that the diary's entries were written in his own handwriting, though he had no recollection of ever penning these words. The entries detailed his future choices, dilemmas, and the outcomes of those decisions. One entry in particular haunted him, a choice between saving the life of a stranger or preserving his own well-being. Mark grappled with the ethical implications of his newfound knowledge. He had the power to alter the course of events, to potentially change the future for better or worse. The diary became both a guide and a burden, leading him to question the nature of destiny and free will. As days turned into weeks, Mark began to act on the diary's predictions, attempting to influence the outcomes in ways he believed were just and right. However, with each action he took, Mark realized that the future was not as malleable as he had hoped. Some events remained stubbornly unchanged, while others spiraled out of control in unforeseen ways. The weight of his choices bore heavily on him, and the moral complexity of his situation became increasingly apparent. In the final pages of the diary, Mark read an entry that spoke of an imminent disaster, a fire that would ravage the city. Desperate to prevent it, he warned the authorities and took measures to prepare. As the day of the predicted disaster approached, Mark stood ready, the diary clenched tightly in his hands. The fire broke out, but thanks to his efforts, the damage was mitigated and lives were saved. As the smoke cleared, Mark realized that the diary had one last entry. It simply read, "Your journey is your own to shape." With a renewed sense of purpose, Mark understood that while the diary had given him glimpses of the future, it was ultimately his choices and actions that defined his path. He closed the diary, determined to face the unknown with courage and conviction.